So do you remember when the discussions first started about merging together with another church?
This church was ready to do something. They were convinced that they could grow. They were cramped with too little space.
I think there were a good number of people that really wanted to see something bigger and something better, and Hope was kind of struggling, to be quite honest.
And Fritz and I talked, and I said, Fritz, think about it. We need space, and we could develop new space if we had it. And they couldn't develop the space that they had. And I said, Fritz, we really need to merge, because together, your church and our church, we could make we could make it work.
I was a second pastor at Hope United Methodist Church. I would do one of three things with it, and that is either grow it, merge it, or we would stop it. So Gary and I began to talk about the possibility of merger. We talked for maybe 5 or 6 months about how best to do this. And when we decided it was the best thing to do, we decided that we would take about a year, and what we would do is we would have pulpit exchanges. I'd go over to First Church, Gary would come over to Hope, and Dennis Ackerman was a part of the team at that time too, and so he was a part of that pastor exchange process also.
What do you remember about coming up with a new name for the two churches?
Yeah, I do remember being present when our church voted, being at the meeting that we had to come up with that name, yeah. And, at first it was hard to move from, there was a lot of us that really wanted to keep the First United Methodist Church, but we understanding that we were bringing, I think the church was Hope at the time, and so when we were merging those two congregations, that we needed to come up with a new name.
I know we had a vote to decide what the name was going to be. And there was a group that kept voting for First United Methodist just to keep it that way. And finally, about the third round, then everybody started deciding, okay, we're going to pick something different.
We can't use Hope, we can't use First, because it's a merged congregation. And so we had kind of a naming contest. Actually, the staff had a lot to do with that. Ironically, the one who probably had the most to do with the name Grace was Dennis Ackerman. It was his suggestion, and as I recall, and his pushing that got the name Grace to the forefront. I don't remember who else was for it, but it did catch on. I think he suggested it, it caught on, and so that's how we came up with that.
I have really good memories of a meeting, and when we finally got down to 2 and then down to 1, it was. But what I didn't anticipate, Barry, is that letting them participate in the naming of it. It was Grace Church from the beginning. I never heard any complaints at all about, they owned this, they owned it. Having them participate in that was something that I've been grateful for forever.
It was really hard for us to change our name because we were just, always First United Methodist. But, I think we finally all got used to it and loved that the name was chosen as Grace.